All right, hey, welcome everybody. And I thought rather than telling you what the project's going to do, I'm going to open the video just by straight up showing you. You can see I have this big whiteboard and I have the blue tape that we use for a lot of stuff in this class. We use blue tape, by the way, because it's painter's tape. It's made to come off easily without destroying the surface or damaging or getting the surface dirty. And so you can see I've made a track of tape. You can make it many different ways, but this is one that I made. I could have done it differently. And this robot is now been programmed to use the color sensor that we're going to add, that we just added to our robot, to navigate this maze. And I don't know how long this would go. I'm not sure if it would work forever or if it would ever kind of, get unlucky and make a mistake. But this is called the line follower for obvious reasons, right? It follows the line around the track. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to work on that a little bit, and we're going to get that going. I wanted to show you guys while this is running. I want you to show you something. The way this is working, it's kind of interesting. Is if you look right up here, you can see that this keeps going from white to nothing to blue. You can see the little slash mark. That means it's in between, or it's not sensing any color. So you can see as this thing twitches back and forth, look at it in the picture. I'll make this a little bigger actually. You can see as it twitches back and forth, it goes blue, white, it kind of goes back. Well, now it kind of appears to be steady, but you can see it's constantly changing from blue to white. That's the whole idea behind how you do this. And I'm going to explain that further right now. Just give me a second here. Okay, so let me explain to you how this works. And to do this, I built a fake car. Let's just pretend this is a car. And we already know that on the bottom, underneath our robot, there's a camera. So we're going to pretend that this is the camera. Okay, that fell apart. Let's try that again. Okay, so I had to build something a little more sturdy that wouldn't fall apart so easily. So we're going to pretend that this is the color sensor and it's looking down. And here's how this code basically works. It actually doesn't ride this piece of tape. What it really does is it rides, see the transition between my desk and the blue. So see this little line? It rides one edge of the tape. And let me show you how it does that. It does it by constantly overshooting and then going back and overshooting the other direction, then going back. And basically that's why you see this thing moving in a back and forth wavy type of motion. So let's take a look at how that works. So when we start the program, we're going to tell the sensor to look down, and if it sees blue underneath it, like this would, because you can see the middle of that dot, we're going to pretend that's where the camera is. It sees blue. It tells it, hey, if you see blue, all you need to do is turn to the right. So it will go and it will say, and I think it's like, so it goes to the right, and it goes until it's that. So you can see, actually, we're going to be riding this edge over here. And so here we go. It turns, it goes forward and turns until it's past there. Now look, it's not seeing blue anymore. You can see it's turned, it's too much. It's not on blue anymore. So then if it doesn't see blue, so any other color, white or whatever, it doesn't matter, it just goes and it starts turning left. And what's that going to do? It's going to put it back on the blue. So it goes forward and turns left gradually, and then it's back on the blue. And once it sees that it's totally on the blue, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. If we're on the blue, we have to turn right and go forward. So it turns right and goes forward. Oh, back off of the blue again, isn't it? Let me move that a little bit. Back off of the blue again. So that would mean, since we don't see blue underneath our camera, we need to turn left and go forward. So the car would go, and see around this turn, it's going to go a little wider, and boom, now it's back on blue again. Okay, great, start turning right and go forward. Oh, we're not on blue, so we need to turn left, and so on and so forth. And the computer does this very fast. You saw how rapidly it kind of moves back and forth as it does this. But that's the basic idea is, hey, turn right until you're off of the blue. Hey, you're off the blue. Turn left until you're on the blue. Turn right until you're off the blue. And it just goes back and forth forever. And it basically rides one side of the tape, depending on which way you tell it to go. So that's the idea. All right? Cool. Now let's do the code. Okay, so here we go. And we don't need this for a little while. You can just kind of leave him running, doing his thing in the background there, my little robot. And let's go ahead and get started programming this. Okay, so let's get going. First of all, we have to tell the Lego software, like always, where are we plugging in our motors? Because there's 6 ports. You could plug them in into A and E. Well, ours are usually into C and D. So what we're going to start out with, go to movement, and then we're going to set the movement motors to C and D. All right. Next, here's the problem with this. If we go too fast, and I experimented a lot with this to make sure our first run actually works the best possible and the most reliably that we could imagine, what we're going to do is we're just going to go over here to set movement speed to, and instead of 50%, we're going to turn it down all the way to 25 so that it doesn't overshoot. If you go too fast, by the time it recognizes a color and then gets the signal back to the motor to stop or move the other way, it might have overshot and it would just kind of go in circles, okay? So to make it reliable, where I could just set it on the table and forget about it for this video right up here, yeah, I had to kind of turn the speed down a bit. And that's what we need to start with. Always, and a good principle in robotics is slow things down. Generally speaking, there might be some exceptions to that where it's the opposite, but generally speaking, things tend to work a little bit better when we just slow things down a little bit. All right? So there we go. And now what we want to do is, you can see this thing's never stopping. If you look at this robot, it just keeps going and going and going. So we need a forever loop. Whenever you see that happening, you can pretty much guess that we need a forever loop. So let's go down to press the controls, and then we're going to go to repeat forever. Actually, it just says forever. And anything that's stuck inside of this chunk is going to happen again and again and again. All right? Cool. All right. So we now need, remember how we said we're going to have it analyze it and say, hey, if it's blue, do one thing. Otherwise, if it's not blue, do something else. So that is the if else. You heard what I said. If something happens, otherwise do something else. So we're going to use this one right here. So if we look real carefully, oh, that doesn't get any bigger, does it? So we're going to go use the if, then, else. See this block right here, these chunks? So it's like if, then, if something happens, so if it sees blue, then we're going to turn right. Otherwise, if it doesn't see blue, we're going to turn left. Okay, so we're going to throw that in there. And let's get our first thing. What are we looking at? If something, okay, well, go to sensors. And we're going to go, here's the color sensor. It's this top one. So if the color sensor plugged into A shows the color red, well, we're going to change that. Drag that out. And hey, when you're snapping these in, don't think about this end. Think about this end over here. That's what snaps in. See when it lights up? Now you can let go and it should expand around it. Let me show you what happens when you don't do it right. Nothing. It doesn't work. So you have to snap it in by the left-hand side of this thing. So grab it by here and think about docking that part. The other end, if you put that there, it doesn't work. You have to do the left end. Okay, cool. All right, cool. Now we have that. So if the color sensor plugged into port A, and that's why I said earlier in the build video to plug it into A, otherwise you have to change it, no problem, is color, and we're going to change that color to blue. So if this color sensor in A is seeing blue, then we're going to do whatever's in this chunk. Well, what we want to do is we want to go up, and we're not going to put an amount that it moves because we don't know. It may have to go around a big turn, or it may just barely have to do a little twitch to get back on track. So since we don't really know what that is, we're going to have to just program it to just move at a turn. Just a moment here. Okay. Oh, come on. Yeah. So here we go. So what we're going to do then is we're going to have the robot, and it's going to start moving right. We want to set the direction and like how sharp the turn is, but we don't want to tell the robot exactly how far to go because, I could put this thing on any set of blue tape and it would just follow it. So I don't even know. Like, for example, it's about to do a wide turn or a narrow turn, and it depends. So we don't know how far it needs to go. So we're going to go to movement, and we're just going to go ahead and put start moving here, right. And you could do left here, it doesn't matter. But what I found is a good value that works very easily and doesn't get off track is 70. So we're going to go If it sees blue, if the color sensor looks down and sees that blue tape, that means we need to get off of the blue tape. So we're going to make a turn at 70, not a complete stop turn like we've done in the past. We're going to kind of a 70. What that means is it doesn't go straight sharp like we've done, is it kind of curves as it turns. All right, so there's that. And then we're going to right click and we're going to duplicate this one and move it down here. And what do we do if it doesn't? So if this thing doesn't see it, that's what the else is for. So if it sees blue, then do this. Otherwise, do something else. So the other thing that we're going to do, else, is going to be, we're going to change this back to left, -70. And remember, in the Lego system of robotics, a turn that's negative is left. If we put a negative value between -100 and -1, it would turn left. -1 would be a very slow, gradual turn. 100 would be a straight, sharp turn in place. And there we go. This is the code that should work. Now, like always, I should double check my code. So I'm going to stop the robot, and I'm going to better fix it first. This is almost over. Are we waiting for some people anyways, right? Okay, so let's try that again. Okay, there you go. So here we go, and let's try running it right now and see if this works. We always do, like, I'm the one who made this code up, and I'm still going to test it. This tells you guys something, right? I make mistakes all the time in robotics. I had to do these numbers and play with them for this video probably 8 or 10 times before I got an acceptable value that I thought would work for everybody. So hey, there's nothing wrong with trying it again. There's nothing wrong with making little mistakes, but we do have to make sure it works. So I'm going to test it. And you can see I have Bluetooth. You guys don't have that. So every time you have to make a change to your code, you'll have to plug it in through USB. And you can see my code appears to be working just as it happens. And one thing to note, it's really cool, is it doesn't do it live, so you don't see all of them, but you can see as it goes, it kind of goes back and forth from blue to white. Sometimes it's so quick that it doesn't register it on the screen. So, all right, hey, when you're done with that, I want you to show me, get your grade checked off, put it on the table, show me what you're doing. Then what I want you to do is, you know what? My values probably are not 100%. I got it until it worked reliably. You can actually make this smoother with different numbers. What are the two numbers you want to play with? Well, if you're done and you've been graded, get that done first. I would recommend you try playing with the speed. You could make it go faster, but remember, when you're tweaking robots, make small incremental changes, like maybe 5 or 10 at a time. So instead of 25, maybe 30, maybe 35. Even 35 seems like quite a big jump from 10%. The other thing is, it's important that I would recommend changing is you can change how sharp it turns. So you can see, you can make it less wiggly, but you'll also see that there are some problems with that we're going to discuss, I think, in a future lab. Hey, thanks everybody. And again, as soon as you're done, show me the code, and then I'll come and grade you on the line table. Thanks, guys.